Hello there. Since today is very dark and stormy, I decided it was the perfect atmosphere to do my ghost stories part 2. I do want to offer a little disclaimer before I get into the video. This is the most emotional and difficult of my ghost stories, and if you are someone who gets very distressed or frightened of poltergeist stories, I strongly advise you to not watch this video and to come back next week instead, because some crazy things happened to me that I'm going to be telling you. All of this happened to me when I was in my early 20s, 21 or 22, can't remember exactly which, but I had reconnected with a girl who had been a year ahead of me in high school, and both of us were looking to move out of our parents' house, but we knew that we couldn't afford to live completely by ourselves yet, so we were looking for somewhere together. And we weren't having a lot of luck anywhere near where we needed to be for work and to be close to our families. So I started asking friends, and I remembered I had a friend called Leah, and Leah was going to dialysis about 5 times a week because of kidney failure, and all of her income was coming from Social Security. Any of you who have been on Social Security or been close to someone on it knows it's near impossible to survive off of that income alone. So she was in kind of a dire place, and she told me that when one of her parents died, they left all of the kids a house downtown, not far from my family, not far from either of our jobs. And I was like, well, would you consider talking to your siblings, seeing if anyone wants it, and if they don't, renting it out to us? And she was like, sure. She talked to them. Everyone was totally fine with renting out the house. So she was like, okay, here's the deal. The last person to live in the house was my paranoid schizophrenic brother, and he left it in kind of a state, not anything bad enough that, it's unfit for human habitation or anything, but it's a mess. She said, if you guys go in over the next few months and you do up the house so it actually looks presentable and nice, I'll make the rent $300 for everybody in the house every month. And I was like, that is a great deal. I have no problem with that. Let's do it. And my friend, we're going to go ahead and call her Veronica, was totally fine with it too. So Leah takes us to the house, and she gives us the key, and we look in, and yeah, it was a mess. It wasn't, like I said, unfit for human habitation, but there was trash everywhere. It looked like he'd never cleaned a day in his life. And every single wall, not just every room, every wall had a huge mirror on it, and there were knives in every room. And I was like, I know you said your brother was paranoid schizophrenic, but was he okay? And she was like, no, he had nurses that would come around, and he refused to ever take his medication. So he was constantly terrified, and that's why there's mirrors and knives everywhere. So I'm like, okay, crazy, weird, whatever. We'll start cleaning up. Veronica had a very different work schedule from myself, so I would go to the house at around 10 in the morning, and she wouldn't show up until like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. So pretty much all morning I was alone in the house doing all the work myself. And this was a 2-story house. So I'm in there just removing the trash, cleaning the walls, cleaning the floors, repainting the walls downstairs. And one day, I'm down there, it's a bright sunny summer day, and I think I see some out the corner of my eye, and I'm like, I just kind of dismiss it as, I'm tired, it's time to take a break now. So I take like a good 2-hour break because I've been going non-stop for a while, and then I see it not out of the corner of my eye, but right in front of me. It's a young man, but I can't really make out his facial features. It's a young man, very thin, medium height, wearing like black punky stuff. And I'm like, weird. And I'm about to, just out of curiosity, ask, what's your name? And he just zips away into another room, like fast as light. And I go into that room and I see nothing. I'm like, that was strange. So Veronica comes over and I tell her about it and she's like, that's so cool. And I was like, yeah, he didn't like do anything sketchy. He was just there. So she's downstairs helping me with the minor painting details, you know, making sure that the border didn't end up anywhere else on the wall and splatters are cleaned up and stuff. And she's like, holy shit. And I'm like, what? And she sees the same guy. And I look over and I see him again. And again, he zips out of the room. And she's like, is that the guy? And I was like, yeah, that's the guy. And like all black and stuff. He just comes in, like checks out what you're doing. And then he leaves. And she's like, holy crap, that's so awesome. And we didn't really mind having him around because, like I say, he wasn't really doing anything. And like a week later, we would see him with a young girl. And she didn't do anything either, so we weren't bothered by her. And we're just like, yeah, I guess we're going to be living with some cool ghost roommates. No big deal. And I got ultra curious and decided to look up that house. And I couldn't find that anyone that young had died there, but quite a lot of people had died in the town from various things, drowning, fires, you name it. They died from it, and I was like, okay, maybe they didn't live in the house, but they decided to attach to us for whatever reason. Didn't think anything of it. We're about a month into fixing up the house, and I get to the upstairs portion, and I'm just in what was originally the study, and we were going to turn into a spare bedroom. I'm in there, and I'm painting, and all of a sudden I hear a cat meow, and I'm like, oh crap, did a cat get in here? And I look, and you know, like when you see a ghost, you can tell it's a ghost, no matter what it is. It's a ghost calico, and she meows at me, she looks up at me, and then she acts like cats do when they're kind of on guard, and she disappears, and I'm like, weird, and I get this really bad feeling around me coming from the closet in the bedroom I was in. It was the same feeling as like if you're at a party or some kind of social event and there's someone around you and you just know that they're really bad news and they put you really on edge and make you really nervous. It was like that. And I'm like, this is really strange. What's going on? Why am I feeling like this? And I feel this huge wave of really negative energy fly at me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going back downstairs. This isn't right. I see the cat at the edge of the staircase. And then again, she vanishes, and I'm like, oh crap. And I bolt down the stairs as fast as I could, and I go outside onto the porch, and I call Veronica, and I'm like, are you at work? And she's like, no, I'm just kind of like hanging out with my family until I was ready to come over. Why, what's going on? And I was like, I think there's something really bad upstairs. And she's like, well, let me come up and check. And she's like, yeah, there's definitely something in this room specifically that doesn't feel great. We went into the upstairs bathroom, didn't feel anything. We go into the master bedroom, didn't feel anything. Hallway, nothing. Just in that bedroom. And we're like, okay, so what could that possibly be? This is really weird. Does somebody just not want us around? And she's like, don't come up here until I'm here. Just, you know, come wait or just hang out in town. Just don't go upstairs if I'm not in the house because I don't want anyone alone up there. And I'm like, okay, no problem with that. So the next day she comes upstairs with me and we're filling in holes in the master bedroom. And I'm like, oh shit. And she's like, I know, I feel it too. And I was like, we need to get downstairs because it feels like it wants to hurt us. It feels really nasty and angry. So she goes down the stairs first. And she's at the bottom looking up at me. And I'm about to go down the stairs. And she's like, I just heard a cat. And then she watches me. She can't see what's behind me, but she watches me obviously get pushed into the stairs. And I grabbed a window that was there, and that's the only reason I didn't fall down a huge steep flight of stairs onto a hardwood floor. And she was like, holy crap, this is really, really bad. Like, I just saw something push you and try to push you down the stairs. And as soon as that happened and I got fully down the stairs with her, I was like, we need to get out of here. The front door starts going bam, 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 bam. And we're like, shit, what do we do? The only way out of the house besides the front door is climbing through a window, which we were not going to do when there's something angry in the house, or going through this tiny escape hatch he had that leads to the garage, but the garage door is padlocked by the last guy who lived there. And I'm like, we're stuck. What do we do? And we start screaming, go away, go away. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. We need to do like a banishing ritual or something, or we're never going to be able to get out of the house. And we're seeing like her iPod start falling onto the floor and stuff. Her speakers are cutting out when there's no reason for them to. We're hearing sounds like someone is thumping in another room. And I don't mean like pipes. I mean like pounding on the walls. And we're just like, fuck, fuck, fuck. This thing's going to kill us. So we start doing whatever banishing rituals we can remember together as loudly as we can, as powerfully as we can, and all of a sudden everything is quiet. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if we fully got rid of it or what, but I don't feel anything, I don't see anything, I don't hear anything. She's like saying me too, and she goes, I know that you're not really into it, but I'd feel better if I can go down the street and talk to the priest and see if he'll exorcise the house. And I was like, you do whatever you need to do, and I'll do whatever I need to do. I'm not going to say no to anything at this point. So we each go home for the day, and we're just, carrying on with our usual nightly routines. And I'm about to go to sleep, and I had a lamp on, and all of a sudden I hear the sound that sounds like static on a TV when you used to have those old TVs in the 90s, and the signal con, it would go that sound, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I go out to the living room, and my dad's sleeping out there, and he has a TV on, but there's no static at all. It's a perfectly clear picture. And I'm like, okay. And I go back into my room, and I keep the lamp on because I'm like, nope, that was weird. And I hear it again. And I'm like, okay, this time I hear the static, and I have that bad feeling. What's going on? I thought we got rid of this guy. And I see very faintly a figure of like a middle-aged man smirk at me. The static gets so loud I can barely hear anything over it, and then he disappears, and I'm like, shit. He's not only not gone, he's followed me home. And I couldn't go to sleep for like a good solid hour, and right when I was in that twilight state where you're kind of asleep, but you can also kind of hear things around. You're not fully asleep yet. I feel something touching my inner thigh, and I'm like, I don't have any indoor animals. What the hell is that? And I look, and I can't see like anything at all, but I can see the blanket indenting, and I'm like, oh crap. And I turn the light off for, falling asleep. I turn it back on, and I can't see anything, but I pull the sheets away, and there are scratches down my legs, and I was like, alright, I gotta actually be dealing with a fucking demon here or something. So I call, it's like 4 in the morning, I call Veronica, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I know it's early, but you have to pick me up. It followed me home. And she's like, what? And I showed her, and she's like, holy shit. They were bad enough she had to actually like put stuff on them. And we were at her parents' house, and she's like, I feel it around you. Like, I don't know what's going on. And I was like, I don't know why it attached to me, but everything always seems to attach to me. I've just got something about me where weird shit happens around me all the time. You can ask anybody who's spent decent time around me. And she's like, what do? We already did banishing rituals and stuff. And I was like, I don't know. All I can do is find like the most powerful ones I can and keep trying. For a solid month after this, every single night I got attacked. I would get scratches. I would feel someone touching where they really shouldn't be touching. I would hear nasty like chuckles. I would hear the static. When we would go to the house He'd suddenly be there. He'd attack both of us. He'd be attacking me the same way, trying to push me down the stairs and shit. He'd be trying to break Veronica's devices. And it was just out of control. And then one day we're at the house together and we go outside to go get some lunch, and we see that the locks have been cut off the garage door. Like, it looked like wire cutters were used, and they hadn't been like that morning. And we were like, this is out of control. We can't do this. Like, it's sexually harassing us. It's trying to do us harm. Now it's destroying the house. And we call Leah and we're like, we're sorry, like, we don't know that you're going to believe a word we say, but we just can't move in now. This is too dangerous for us. And she was completely understanding by some miracle chance. Right after we told her that, the paranoid schizophrenic brother came back. And he made a huge wreck of the house in the course of like a 24-hour period, to the point where I had to be condemned. And I talked to Veronica and I was like, I think he's the reason it happened. And she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, not because of the paranoid schizophrenia. Like, obviously people with mental illness are not necessarily dangerous. I was like, it's the fact that he wouldn't take his meds. Leah told us that would make him very violent towards people. He'd gone to jail a couple of times for it. And in his paranoia, he'd put mirrors everywhere. I was like, what do mirrors do? They summon spirits. I was like, so he's here with this huge ball of negative energy following him around because of how he felt about his own circumstances. And then he has mirrors everywhere. I was like, I think he accidentally summoned something. And she was like, you know, that makes a lot of sense. So that was Ghost Stories Part 2, and one of the most terrifying parts of my entire life. I don't know if saying I hope you enjoyed is appropriate or not, but I will say this. 90% of you watch my videos and have not yet subscribed to my channel. I want to start offering incentive. So, on my DeviantArt account, which is under the same name as my YouTube account, I'm going to start having original designs. They're going to be made into shirts and stuff. Once I reach 100 subscribers on my YouTube channel, I'm going to do a random giveaway of one of those shirts, and I will give you a choice of 1 of 10 items from Killstar that I will purchase for you and send for you. So you have to have been 1 in 100 subscribers, and you have to have been subscribed to me for at least a month solid. Those are the only rules. It's going to be completely random drawing, so don't think that because you're like commenting a lot, you're going to, you know, have the upper hand or anything. Totally random. As always, do something that makes you happy today, no matter what anyone else thinks about it, and I will see you all next week.